This Monday, Tuesday, wow, right off the start, starting hot. This Tuesday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports, brought to you by none other than First Round. Our promo code Sports Addict, get 10% off whatever sports card you want in the entire store. They have an ongoing sale up to 50% off dozens and dozens and dozens of cards. And with our promo code Sports Addict, not only do you get 10% off of regular price items, but sales items as well. Go to firstroundcollectibles.com today and find your heroes. Hockey, football, basketball, baseball, wrestling, boxing. They have it all. Head over to First Round Collectibles today and use our promo code Sports Addict. 10% off sale and regular price items. That's the number one, STRoundcollectibles.com. First Round Collectibles, sports cards for sports fans.
Yeah. Let's go. We just gotta go hard. I go the hardest. I bring the pain. Not what you used to. It's all part of the game. Yeah, I just gotta go hard. I just gotta go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Yeah. Oh yeah, the beast back. Adrenaline pumping through my veins, can't relax. Original, I am not the same as these cats.
And welcome to the Tuesday edition of Pucks Across Borders on Sports Addict Live and Total Apex Sports on X and YouTube. Brought to you by First Round Collectibles. I am Mark Sauter. Good to be here. One series in the bag last night. Another series tied up. The only series that has gone to 2-2. I think a conversation kind of needs to be had. Has this playoffs been disappointing, or are we enjoying the ride? Because drama has not been at an all-time high. But I'm interested to hear what you guys think. And with me, as always, at the bottom of your screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. John, how you doing on a Tuesday, man? Good to see you.
Good to see you, man. I'll say that the first round has had a surprising lack of drama, except one game we might get to later on from last night's one series, I mean. But yeah, and most of these series have been 3-1 or in the Rangers' case 4-0. So definitely a little bit surprised so far.
And right beside me at the top of the screen, you read his work about the NFL on Gridiron Heroics. You read his gambling picks on winners and whiners. You read his NHL analysis, amongst other sports, on TotalApexSports.com. And you see him all over Total Apex Sports, talking football, basketball, baseball. He talks about it all. Andre, what's up on a Tuesday, bro?
Nothing much, man. I'm doing pretty good. It kind of stinks that none of these series have been competitive, really, except Stars, Golden Knights. But one, that opened his door for a good comeback, and two, my team was involved, so I'm kind of grateful that at least one of them.
Well, and I mean, like that Nashville series, like the Predators could be up 3-1, or even worst case, obviously not worst case to the way it is right now, but barring an empty netter hitting a post, that series was tied. Like, right? So other things, things could have broken differently. And listen, we talk gambling a lot on this show. Every single preview, we give you the odds, all that stuff. I just want to say the New York Yankees are playing the Baltimore Orioles tonight. And every time Andre goes to a game, there's less than 3 runs. So if I'm not mistaken, you're going again today. So bet the under is what I'm saying. We're here giving you good, solid baseball betting information on Pucks Across Borders. So bet the under on the Yankees and the Orioles. All right, let's get into what we learned from last night. John, we'll start with you, man. What was your takeaway in the NHL last night? Only 2 games to kind of go through, but what caught your eye?
I'll go with the early game from last night, the Florida Panthers. During the playoff preview, I think we all had Tampa Bay moving on from that series, and I really liked the way the Lightning were playing going into the playoffs. I was somewhat concerned about Florida before April at least, but it seems like Florida got their act together because I believe they had a winning streak going into the playoffs, and they looked like the team we thought they could be back in February and March in this playoff series. I think I'm pleasantly surprised at how dominant Florida was throughout most of this series. This was, by all accounts, a gentleman's sweep because Tampa Bay pretty much won one last game at home to extend the series. I think Florida owned the series start to finish, and I know Boston has looked all right, and we'll get to them later. But the way Florida looked in this series, they are going to be a tough out for whoever has to take them down going forward.
Well, I agree with you. Last night was interesting though, because in the first period, the first goal of the game was taken back because of goaltender interference. And that was by the Lightning. In the second period, the same thing happened. The Lightning scored a goal, and it was called a no goal on the ice. Tampa challenged it, and the call stood. I saw both of those. I don't know. To me, it looked coincidental. It looked like a net battle in front of the net, and John Cooper said as much in his press conference at the end of the game. I don't know. All year long, these goaltender interference calls have become so subjective that I think, I don't know. Like we didn't talk about this before the show, but this is just kind of coming to my mind. Like, I think we just need to go back to skate in the crease. Like, if skates in the crease, it's a no goal. Because that way, like, the skate's either in the crease or it's not in the crease. You know what I mean? Like right now, we're taking away 2 playoff goals from a team that's fighting for their lives because of an opinion. And like, to me, I just feel like let's just go back to skate in the crease. I know that didn't work out so well in 1999. I'm aware. But to me, this is just getting ridiculous. And it was ridiculous all year long, the amount of stupid goaltender interference calls. I get you can make you can make an argument for the first goal last night, but that second goal should have counted. And I don't know where you guys stand on it. Maybe we can break that down another day. But to me, let's just go back to skate in the crease, because this is getting kind of ridiculous with these goaltender interference calls. Sorry, Andre, you got something?
I thought you were frozen. No, I was going to say it's kind of like, what's the catch? What's not a catch? You know, stupid.
Right.
Like that.
Yes, that's a good comparison, honestly. I don't think we should really have true judgment calls among referees and umpires in sports, except balls and strikes, because otherwise, you'd be extending the game forever. But in hockey, I'm in favor of like a clear judgment. Like a clear rule on what's a goal and what's not. The clearer, the better.
100%. And even like, isn't there a rule in football where like, if the ball is like uncatchable, then it's goaltend, then it's not pass interference or something like that, right? And it's like, in like that first goal that was disallowed last night, Bob's not saving that regardless of what was happening. Like, that puck wasn't being saved regardless. So like, I don't know. There's something there for me as well. But anyway, Andre, what do you got from last night, bro?
Yeah, we're gonna go to the Western Conference Finals matchup, the second game of the night. Vegas takes an early lead on home ice. They take a 2-1 lead early in the second period, but Dallas doesn't waver. They tie it up at 1. They tie it up at 2. They break through, take a 3-2 lead heading into the third, wrap it up with the empty net win. They kept they evened up the series after losing 2 at home. Huge matchup, kind of a reset. Something that we saw last year in the Eastern Conference first round. John knows what I'm talking about. And Stars are right where they need to be again. This is the only competitive series of the first round, really, in terms of being 2-2 instead of 3-1 or 3-0.
Right.
It's, again, this very well could decide who wins the Western Conference. These are two incredible teams. These are the two teams that were on the doorstep last year. And it's delivered. The Stars offense alive a little bit. Ottinger's waking up a little bit. They're clicking again. I think we all picked Dallas to win yesterday. It was John's best bet. So worked out for us, but just the best team in the Western Conference is looking like it again. And it's going to be interesting to see if a home team wins a game in this series now. That's the best of 3.
Dallas better hope so, because otherwise that enters Vegas.
Well, and it's funny because I threw out the Wyatt Johnston goal last night, and my best bet was Steven Stamkos. And if I just flipped that around, we would have been golden. But I did get a Wyatt Johnston parlayed with a -1.5 Dallas. So I made a little bit of cash on it, but yeah. And that to me, like based on game 1 from Winnipeg, Colorado, I thought that was going to be the most exciting series. That game last night was phenomenal. Like it was low scoring. It wasn't a barn burner as far as the score sheet goes, but it was just fast paced, big hits. Like I thought it was a really, really good hockey game. And I mean, obviously the fact that it's like tied up 2-2 is a big factor, but even without that, I just feel like this has been one of the more under talked about series because all these games are at like 10 o'clock at night. But it's been a really fun playoff series. All right, my takeaway from yesterday, and I don't like talking about this stuff during the playoffs because it's the playoffs, and I want to talk about what happens on the ice. I want to talk about the results that we're watching on TV, but I think this is a really important topic to bring up. Dave Haxtell gets fired from the Seattle Kraken, and I know we talked about this before the show, but to our listeners and our viewers, did you guys know that he is the 17th coach in the last 18 months to get fired? Martin St. Louis just finished his second, I think, season with the Montreal Canadiens, and he is the 6th longest tenured coach in the NHL. And this is just getting outrageous to me. Your first year in the league, you missed the playoffs. That's expected. You're not Vegas. Vegas is like the only expansion team that had the rules that they had, and then they changed it immediately after because Vegas went to a cup final in their first year. And it's like, well, that's not cool. And you make it to the playoffs, and then you were in contention for a playoff spot up until the last month or so of the season. And with the roster that they had, it's not a surprise that they missed the playoffs. One of those classic, did you overachieve the year before or did you underachieve this year? You know, that kind of like argument. And I know, Andre, before the show, you were talking about how you were reading reports that the Seattle players didn't want to play for him and all of that. And I understand that, and that's all well and good. This year is unique because there's a plethora of very good coaches available. Rod Brendamore might be available, which is blows my mind. But you got a lot of really good coaches waiting out there right now, so I get it. But this is absolutely ridiculous. How many coaches are getting fired and how short these leashes are. And it brings up a discussion that we should have on another day, maybe in the off season, but like the parity is fine. I get the parity. I get it. And it's worked. But this league seems a little watered down. It seems like there's just a lot of mediocre teams, and the coaches are the ones paying the price. And Dave Hackstall signed an extension in the summer, and he won't see that extension through. So they're going to pay him for an extension that he will never coach. Like, so if he gets hired, obviously, then that extension is void. But Don Granato, Buffalo Sabres, same thing. He got extended last year, and he's getting fired before his extension starts. It's like, and it took a whole 15 minutes before I brought up my guys in blue. But if Sheldon Keefe gets fired, if this series continues to go the way that it is looking, then he's going to get fired before his extension starts. So I don't know. This coaching carousel in the NHL is getting absolutely ridiculous. And for Martin St. Louis to be coaching his team for 2 years and be the 6th longest tenured coach is just outrageous to me. And I just can't believe it.
It's kind of crazy they'll pay an extension when they just fired the guy.
Yeah.
I mean, and Mark, we've talked about this before, but one, do you think there's a problem? And two, where do you think the solution comes in for this? I mean, carousel of coaches. It's impossible to keep your job in the NHL, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, like, in my opinion, and like you said, like, if there's reports that your players don't want to play for this guy, then I guess you got to do what you got to do. And the Dave Hackstall situation is its own thing. But like Todd McClellan, like, the guy's a professional, and his team was underperforming as a team. Like, are you telling me that Todd McClellan is not getting his team to where they are right now? I don't know. Like, I would love to talk to some guy from Los Angeles who covers this team on a daily basis. I know they changed some things, like schematically or whatever, but Todd McClellan, like, the guy has like 700 wins in the NHL. Like, you're telling me he's not going to find a way to get this team to the playoffs? It's just really trigger happy. Same with Jay Woodcroft. Like, I don't know if the Oilers season would have panned out, but your goaltenders sucked, and you had the best players in the world who weren't performing like it. And then the goaltender gets good, and then you go on to almost win your division. Like Minnesota, their goaltending was awful at the beginning of the year. And then the coach got fired, and all of a sudden the goaltending was great, and they were in, playoff contention. Like, you know what I mean? Like, to me, I just think patience. Like Andy Reid has coached for 2 teams in the last 30 years. It's not like those teams were winning Super Bowls every single year. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I just feel like the patience in the NHL is just paper thin. And maybe this is just the way it is now. I don't know.
I don't think it's just the NHL, because I see that problem in the NFL too. But I do agree the NHL was very notable. You guys said 17 coaches got fired in the last year and a half.
Yeah.
I do think that's an issue, because there's no way half the teams in the NHL are that bad or have that many issues that should lead to that many firings. If that number was like in half, I think I'd be okay with it. Or maybe even 10. But like 17 out of 32 positions have changed.
I know. That's great.
That seems a bit much. And I include my team in that, because I thought Ruff got treated a bit harshly around here for the Devils. That's just one example. I think some situations, though, like what you guys are saying, let's just say these reports are true for Seattle, I guess it's a kind of it has to be done type of situation. I think Edmonton is another huge example of the right decision being made about getting fired, because a coach getting fired, because now this team looks like a cup contender. So sometimes they do get it right, but I do think in other cases, though, like Mark, you mentioned McClellan. That would be a good example as well. Like, people are like, sometimes it's a bit trigger happy.
100%. And I mean, like with your team, like the Devils, like that's a situation for me where we knew in, dude, we knew in May, last May, that you guys needed a goaltender, right?
Yes.
And he never got one. The goaltending was subpar at best all year long. Jack Hughes was injured for a large portion of the season. You lost one of the best defensemen in the league in like November or October. It was early. And you guys beat the Rangers in the first round last year, made it to the second round. Like, why are you firing this guy? like your goaltending's awful. Your best defenseman's been out all year, and your superstar has been hurt for most of the year. Like, and you just beat your Tri-City rivals and made it to the second round. Like, I don't know. It just seems outrageous to me. And like, it's different. Like when Mike Babcock was fired in Toronto, you're talking about years and years of first round losses. There was like large, not scandals, but the way he was treating certain players, it was breaking out in the media. And you had to kind of make that move. Anyway, it's just a frustrating thing for me, but all right, let's get into the games. 4 games on the ice tonight, all of which are potential elimination games. Who do we think is getting eliminated? Who do we think is moving on? Now, listen, boys, this is our podcast. I try to make decisions together, but I am calling an audible, and I am taking things into my own hands here just for a second. We're doing the Toronto Maple Leafs and Boston Bruins game last because I have been going on like 10-minute rants every time I talk about my team, and we're saving it for the end because I'm getting carried away, and I just need to talk about other teams and just the Maple Leafs game might derail my entire show. So we're going to talk about it last. And if anybody wants to know what I think about my boys, then stick around till the end of the show. But we're going to cover the other 3 games first because I need a second. I need to finish my coffee, and I just need a second before we talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. So with all that being said, let's dive into our first potential elimination game where the New York Islanders, potential comeback kids, great overtime win over the weekend. They have been sitting around since Saturday, waiting and waiting to see what they can do. The Carolina Hurricanes are minus 258 favorites at home, which is still, to me, outrageous. Like they've been playing well. But this series has been way closer than minus 258. The Islanders are plus 210 on the road. The over is 5.5 at plus 100. The under is minus 120. Minus 1.5 for the Hurricanes is plus 110. Plus 1.5 for the Islanders is minus 130. John, let's start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I think this is it for the Islanders. To me, they're very lucky to even be here because it took 2 overtimes to even extend this series in the first place. I think the Islanders are pretty outclassed here, and I know I said in years past that they're a tough out. And in the beginning of the playoffs, I thought they would be a tough out, and they still can be, for all we know. But I'm just not seeing it. The Islanders look like a team a bit lost. I think the Canes. I think in a double overtime game like the last time, you kind of have to give it to the team that's fighting for survival. Maybe another team just loses the energy or motivation at some point. But considering how gassed how much that must have taken out of the Islanders, I'm going to go Canes minus 1.5 here, especially at home.
Interesting. Andre, what do you see here?
Yeah, I gave the Islanders the extra bit of life in game 4. And then I don't know if you remember what I said after I picked them to win, but I very much said they're going to get smacked in Carolina. And I fully believe that. You saw at the end of game 4 when it was tight, when Carolina was like, oh, this is a thing. Like, we probably need to turn on the Jets and win this game. They turned on the Jets and tried to win the game. The Islanders were out shooting them, pretty not outplaying them, but playing kind of even for large chunks of it. And then when it was go time, Carolina took over the game. That's why numbers wise they ended up looking much better, even though the Isles got the shot that won it all, or not won it all, but won game 4. So Carolina doesn't mess around this time. They end the series. They know who they're playing next. They want every bit of rest they can get because they know their opponent is rested. They're going to win this one by multiple goals. So I also like that -1.5.
Yeah, that's interesting because, like, I just feel like it's just one of those series, right? And I know, like, coulda, shoulda, woulda, but to me, like, a couple different things happen, and this series has a much different complexion, right? And I don't know. I feel like the Islanders are going to fight tonight. Varlamov is in the net tonight, which should surprise nobody at this point in time. I don't know. I have a feeling that the Islanders are going to find a way to squeak out a win. All these games, yes, the Hurricanes have outplayed the Islanders for large stretches, but the Islanders have, like, I thought game 1 and 2 specifically, the Islanders outplayed Carolina for the most part. And even game 3, like, the Islanders didn't just like roll over, right? Like, I don't know. Like, this series just doesn't feel the way that the games have been going. It just doesn't feel like a 3-1 series. Like, this feels like a series that should be going at least 6 games, just based on what I've been seeing on the ice. And so, to me, like, the Rangers series, that felt like a sweep. Like, that just felt like the Rangers were doing, like, just enough to get the win and go home and stay healthy, where I just feel like this series has been much tighter than the 3-1 score or the 3-1 lead would indicate. And I feel like the Islanders find a way to get the job done tonight. I think it's going to be very difficult, especially on the road with the storm surge and all that stuff. But I don't know. I think the Islanders find a way to get the job done. Not a lot of goals in this series. Barzal leads the Islanders with goals with 2. I'll probably stay away from props in this one, but I think the Islanders find a way to get the job done. I probably shouldn't be shocked that I'm alone on this one, but I kind of am. Plus 210 for the Islanders to win tonight. All right, moving on to the next elimination game. The Colorado Avalanche are back in the infamous whiteout in Winnipeg as the Jets hope to stay alive. The Jets plus 102. Home dogs. Colorado minus 122 on the road. The over is 6.5 at minus 118. The under is minus 102. Minus 1.5 for the Avalanche is plus 200. Plus 1.5 for the Jets is minus 245. Andre, we'll start with you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I'm really torn on this game. I feel like the Jets. I feel like the Avs are the way better team, deserve to be favorites, are going to win the series. I'm just not sure if they're going to wrap it up in Winnipeg. I'm not sure if they can, one, hold down this Jets offense again, especially with the season on the line in that environment. 2, keep scoring at that rate. I know I trust their offense a lot, even in this matchup, but at some point, shots just aren't going to go in, especially against a defense and a goalie this good. For sure, if it's not this game, it's the next game that wraps up this series. And I think it's going to be game 6. I'm going to roll with the Jets here, and I'm going to take the under for the first time in this one, I think.
Yeah, I think those two things go hand in hand, right? Like, that first game, the Jets won 7-6. But we all knew that if the Jets are going to win more games than one in this series, they can't win 7-6 every night against Colorado. That's just not going to work, right? So I'm with you. I think if the Jets win, I think it goes under. That absolutely makes sense to me. I'm going to take the Jets to win as well. I really do think, like, I've watched every minute of this whole series, and there's just, and I've said this before on this show, that there's just always a moment in the game where the dam breaks and Colorado just takes over. And that's what we've seen in every single game. I thought in every game, especially games 2, 3, and 4, Winnipeg did a good job at controlling the pace for like 20, 30 minutes. And then Colorado just woke up and took over. And so I'm really, like, it hasn't like it's not like every single game for 60 minutes Colorado has just been putting on a beat down. Like, the Jets have had large chunks of these games where they do what they have to do to get the win, but they gotta do it for a full 60. And I think it's hard to do, but the Jets are a really good team, man. They're a really good team, and they've been a good team all year long, and I don't see them going out this way. I don't. The likelihood of them coming back, winning the series, I don't know, man. That's going to be tough. I also think Hellebuck has been a shell of himself. And you got to think that at some point he snaps out of it and steals the game for the Jets team. You have to. The guy's going to win the Vezina. And he had a rough playoff series last year against Vegas. He's having a rough playoff series this year. And I just don't see them going out without a world-class performance by him. So give me the Jets plus 102, and I'll be right there with you on the under, especially since it's 6.5. If it was 5.5, I'd be a little bit like more scared of it. But the fact that it's 6.5, I'll take that under, and I'll go with the Jets win too. John, what do you got in this one, bro?
I'll put the pucks across borders stamp on both the Jets and the under here. I think it's a clean sweep on what we're all thinking here. And honestly, it's for the same reason as you just said, Mark. I think Hellebuck's due for a great game, because I've looked at the amount of goals the Jets have allowed this series, and it's just not like them. They've allowed 22 goals in 4 games, if you count empty netters at least. But still, six goals, 5 goals, 6 goals, 5 goals. That's how many they've allowed in each game. And considering the Jets have been a top 3 goaltending team in the regular season, I just can't believe they're going to get this derailed every single game of the series. Maybe this just means Colorado's going to wrap it up since all of us are on the Jets. But I have to believe the Jets are going to have one shutdown game in this series. And I agree with you guys. I do not think the Jets are winning this series. I think they're done in that regard. I just don't think Colorado's going to wrap it up tonight. I think the Jets are going to have one last game where they show some resistance, have a nice shutdown goaltending game in front of their home crowd. I think Hellebuck's due for a great game, maybe allowing 1 goal or something like that. And I do agree the under goes hand in hand, because let's just face it, I don't think the Jets are scoring 7 goals again in this series. So I don't think they could rely on that at all. It's been a high-scoring series. I think it's due to go the opposite way. Give me the Jets plus money and the under.
And it's a matter, too, like, it's yes, the depth for Colorado has been better than I expected, but it's still the same suspects. Like, Nichushkin has 6 goals. Lehkonen has 4 goals. Rantanen has 6 points, all helpers, but 6 points. Lehkonen, a total of 7 points. McKinnon has 7 points. Like, you just got to find a way to shut down that top line, man. And all those guys are the only players on the offensive side who are skating more than 20 minutes per game. So everybody else is getting 16 minutes, 15 minutes, 14 minutes or less. So you just got to find a way to slow down that top line enough to give yourself a chance to win. And shout out to Georgie for bouncing back these last 3 games. But that's still Georgie in net. He's still gettable. You can still find a way to beat this guy. So I'll be interested to see how that goes tonight. All right, moving on. This is the series that could have been, man. There are so many like turning points in this series that could have put this in a much, much different potential ending. But the Nashville Predators down 3-1 and hit post on an empty net away from tying this series, being the better team on home ice for 2 games and going back to Vancouver empty-handed. The Nashville Predators are minus 102 on the road. At home are the Vancouver Canucks at minus 118. The over is 5.5 at minus 115. The under is minus 105. So to me, did I give out the puck lines? I don't think I did. Vancouver minus 1.5 is plus 210. Plus 1.5 for the Predators is minus 258. I don't think we know, and if you guys have seen something, by all means, please tell me. I don't think we know who's starting in net tonight for Vancouver. Demko's not coming back, at least in this series. Casey Smith was hurt. So they had a third stringer in there last game. DraftKings only has S.O.S up, so I don't think we know who's playing in net yet for Vancouver. Nashville's been the better team in this series so far. Vancouver is the better team. They're more talented, and they found a way to get the job done and to get the 3-1 series lead. I know that they're in Vancouver. That barn is going to be rocking tonight. Like, it is going to be outrageous in Vancouver. I just think that the Predators deserve better than 4-1 based on their play. Now you could argue that they don't deserve better because they gave up a 3-1 lead in like a minute and a half and then lost in the first minute of overtime. So maybe they don't deserve better. I don't know. I just get a feeling that you have 3 different starting goalies in one series and they all win for you. I just feel like Nashville's going to find a way to get the win tonight. I just feel like they've been the better team. They deserve a better fate. And I'm going to take Nashville Predators at minus 102. There's no question Vancouver's a better team. There's no question that they have the more talented roster. But I just think Nashville finds a way to get the job done tonight. I do think this is going to go under. So I'll take the under 5.5 at minus 105, and I'll take Nashville at minus 102. Andre, what about you? What do you see here?
Yeah, we don't know who's starting in net for Vancouver. I don't think they've decided between DeSmith or Silva yet. What we do know is they've had 3 goalies in this series, and all 3 of them have a better save percentage than S.O.S.
Yeah.
That's very concerning. And he ended the regular season the same way. I thought at some point he would get it together. But an 857 after 4 games is just not going to cut it. And it doesn't matter how many shots they block. He's going to have to stop the ones that actually get to him. So I'm concerned. It's like every time the Predators have the answer, every time the Predators are gaining ground, about to punctuate a win or, just get back on their feet, Vancouver pulls a rabbit out of the hat and then takes all the momentum away. This game is in Vancouver. If they win now, gets themselves a little extra rest, might be able to get the Smith back. I don't know if he's coming back today. Demko could be returning if they make a deep enough run. I'm sure they would love nothing more than that. I think they just end this series now. They have the momentum on their side. They have the home crowd that's going to be going nuts. And it just seems like they're the better team if S.O.S isn't playing well, and he's not. Give me Vancouver minus 118.
So a couple things before we move on to John in this game. Number one, if Edmonton wins and Vancouver wins, then it guarantees a Canadian team in the conference final. And that would be such a fun series. Edmonton, Vancouver. Oh my goodness. That would be so much fun. Cross province would be great. And we need a Canadian team to make a deep run here. Two of them could be gone as of midnight tonight. So we need some Canadian content to keep us going. My other question, the other thing real quick before we get to John, I just had a question for you, Andre. Did you just say they pulled a rug out of their hat? Is that the saying that you just said?
I said rabbit.
Oh, rabbit. I heard rug. I was like, that is one that I need an explanation on. But rabbit out of the hat, wait, it makes way more sense. Like rug out of a hat. That's a trick. What's more impressive, pulling a whole rug out of a hat or a rabbit? I don't know. I think rug is
I would
a bit more magic. Yeah, I think it's a bit more magical. All right, John, what do you got here, bro?
I think I'm taking Nashville in this one. I've been impressed with how Vancouver has held up. Andre mentioned they've had 3 different goaltenders this series, and all of them have played relatively well. And I think Game 4 was a huge win for Vancouver. Definitely might have changed the tide of this series. I think I'd be picking Nashville either way, whether they won or lost that overtime game in Game 4. But I think the odds here are very telling. Nashville's down 3-1 in this series, and they're on the road in Vancouver. Yet you're getting them at even money as a road team, a lower seed with a struggling goaltender as well. I think all of that is making me think Nashville is going to win tonight, or Vegas at least expects Nashville to win tonight. I'm not saying Nashville is going to come back and win this series, but I have a feeling this is going to be a longer series than we think. I don't know. I'm just not sold on Vancouver wrapping it up early yet. I've been underestimating them in this whole series so far, though, so you never know. But like I said, I just think the odds are indicating Nashville's going to come out with this one.
All right, moving on to the moment that, well, I don't know if we've all been waiting for it, but I have been at least. I love this show so much, and yesterday I was thinking all day about what am I gonna say about this game heading into. And for those of you who aren't in the Toronto market, it's hard for you to understand just how incredible, like the vibes in this city. It's just, I encourage you to read some Toronto media, listen to some Toronto sports radio. You can get it on podcast, TSN, and Sportsnet. Like, the vibes in this city are just something to behold, man. And Boston, this is the largest favorite of any game between these two teams. Now, that being said, I put these odds in. This show has been going on. We have been live for 43 minutes and 47, 48, 49 seconds, now 50. I put these odds in like 50 minutes ago. The Boston Bruins were 166 when I put these odds in. They're now minus 148. Toronto was plus 140. They're now plus 124. So we got some Toronto money coming in. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign. The over is 5.5 at minus 125. The under is plus 105. Plus 1.5 for the Maple Leafs is minus 205. Minus 1.5 for the Bruins is plus 170. I'll say my piece, but Andre, I want to hear from you, man. What do you see in this game tonight?
I don't trust Toronto's offense. I don't trust the Bruins offense, and I really don't think the Bruins are that good of a team still, even up 3-1. So I'm going to take the under, and I'm going to sit here patiently and listen to what you have to say because I'm very interested.
Yeah. I was gonna let John go next, but if he's taking a bathroom break or something, so I'll go here. I'm just
Hi.
hey
He
Had
John,
a
loves-
sip of
so
coffee.
so I'll get to my thoughts, believe me. John, what do you got in the Boston Toronto game tonight?
I don't want to do this to you, Mark, but after watching the last game between these two teams, your team doesn't look right now. And Austin Matthews didn't even play in the third period at all last time these two met up. That concerns me in itself. I don't care if it's listed as an illness. I feel like there's a red flag there, to be honest. And I'm not going to get too deep into this, but I felt like Toronto made so many silly mistakes in game 4 that they just don't look like a disciplined enough team. But Samsonov doesn't look like he's a goalie that can keep up with whoever Boston puts out there. I don't know. I don't like the way Toronto's been playing in this series. I don't like the way they've looked. I think I have no choice but to go with Boston. I'm not that confident in the puck line, but I think the 60-minute line would be the play for me here. I don't feel like this game will go to overtime. I think Boston is going to wrap this up tonight, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong there, Mark. That's just my gut feeling on it. So give me the Boston 60-minute line. I just think they're much more disciplined, and I trust whoever they put out there. I believe Swayman was the first. It was the first time they had back-to-back appearances from the same goalie in quite a while for Boston.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're finally finding their footing there. So I just like the way Boston has looked a lot more right now. So give me their 60-minute line.
Yeah, and Coach Montgomery said that their whole plan was to go like back and forth for the first 2 games, and then after the game 3 performance by Swayman, they just decided to go with the hot hand. So this is my non-hockey related analysis for this game. My son just said, uh-oh, like 3 times, and his name is Boston. So I don't know. Take that for what you were. That's speaking to me. I don't know. That's giving me some shivers over here. So this is the thing. Matthews being pulled off the ice in the third period or before the third period, really big deal. Did not practice on Monday. That's a concern. We'll find out as the day goes on whether he's playing or not. Everybody's saying the right things. Everyone's saying that they're hopeful that he plays tonight. Clearly in game 3 and 4, he wasn't right. You could see him. There's a lot of professional lip reading going on from last game on the bench. He was saying to the team trainer, like, I can't skate. Like, I can't effing skate. So clearly something was very not right with him, and we'll see what happens. The way that the lines were constructed yesterday would seem like they're preparing for a game without Austin Matthews. Joseph Wall is more than likely going to be in the net tonight instead of Ilya Samsonov. It's not Samsonov's fault that they're down 3-1 in this series, but he has let in some soft goals, and you just got to try to change something. They're making some changes again on the back end. All that stuff. William Nylander played his first game of the series on Saturday. Looked okay. Looked like he was a little bit slow getting started, but finished the game with 22 minutes, got 3 shots on net. Looked pretty good as the game went on. I expect him to be flying tonight. This is the bottom line. We can talk about what happens after this because the majority of the Toronto media is talking about what to do when the season ends. Like, there's a lot of people who aren't even talking about this game tonight. That's not even a joke or an exaggeration. Like, there are a lot of people who are acting like it's over and there's no game tonight. There's no game on the schedule and it's done. And what do we do when the season's over? we can talk about what to do with the coach. We can talk about what to do with the president, Brendan Shanahan. We can talk about what to do with Mitch Marner and with how this team is constructed. The bottom line is Saturday night, you said it, John, Saturday night was the most uninspiring, embarrassing playoff performance that I have seen from this Toronto Maple Leaf roster. And it's unbelievable. Like, you're at home on a Saturday night, hockey night in Canada, and you just don't even show up. And yes, Mitch Marner scored in the third period. But after that, like, we watched the Vancouver Canucks being down 3-1 with a minute and a half left. They scored 2 goals. They won the game in overtime. The Leafs were down 3-1 with however many minutes left, and they did nothing. They just packed it in. So I'm really worried about this team, and we can have a conversation about what to do when the season's over. But just straight up, that performance the other night, I just couldn't believe what I was watching. Now, with all of that being said, historically, they are a much, much, much better road playoff team than at home. I think that there's a lot of pressure at home. I think there's a lot of PTSD from Maple Leaf fans here at home. And I think getting out on the road is the best thing that can happen for this team. The Boston Bruins, guys, like, correct me if I'm wrong, please, but the Boston Bruins have not been overly impressive. Like, it's not like Boston's been dominating this series. They won 3-1 the other night, and the Leafs had one of their worst playoff performances that I've ever seen. And like, Boston won 3-1. You know what I mean? Like, their goaltending's been phenomenal. And Brad Marchand, like, that guy is just a professional pest, dude. Like, he gets in the head of everybody on the other team's but like, David Pastrnak, he scored 2 goals this series. You know, like, it's not like Boston really hasn't played that well. And if Boston wins this series, whether it's tonight or tomorrow or Saturday or tonight or Thursday or Saturday, they're getting destroyed by Florida. Like, Boston, and I mean, like, the Leafs probably would as well. But to me, this series has been way more about what Toronto hasn't done than what Boston has done. And to me, even if obviously having Austin Matthews on the ice is a game changer. He took over game 2 and won that game by himself. But I just think being on the road is a very important thing for this team right now. They need to leave Toronto and just get a win. And I think they're going to do it. I do. I'm nervous. I'm not even really excited for this game. I'm more terrified than anything. I wish that they could just win without a game being played. If like some scandal can break, like some cheating scandal or something, and just the Bruins forfeit and the Leafs get the win. But the bottom line is that performance was so bad on Saturday that if the Leafs have, and I get what you're saying, John, I do 100%. If the Leafs have any pride at all as professional athletes, you have some of the highest paid players in this league on your team, then you go out and you get a win tonight, Austin Matthews or not. Like, you just have to. Like, that performance was just so bad that I don't think the series ends tonight. Do I think Toronto comes back, wins the series, blah, blah, blah? We'll talk about that another day. If they make it, then we'll talk about it. But I think Toronto finds a way to get this win tonight. I do. And we'll see what happens. The bottom line is, and I'll end my little monologue here. Toronto is 1 for 14 on the power play. Boston is 6 for 13 on the power play. Special teams, man. Yes, your penalty kill has to be better. Yes. Yes, your goaltending has to be better. Yes. But you have to score goals. Like, you have to score. Like, It doesn't matter like if there's like missed penalty calls, if you're not going to score on your opportunities, like if Joseph Wall lets in a weak goal tonight, you just got to simply score one. Like you just got to find a way. So I think they do it. I do. And I'm going to pick the Maple Leafs plus 124. And I'm going to go with you, Andre, on that under too at plus 105. I would love to sit here and tell you that the Leafs are going to win 5-1. But I just don't think that's a reality based on how both teams have been playing in this series. So give me Maple Leafs plus 124 and give me the under 5.5 at plus 105. All right. Did I miss anything? Any questions? Yeah. My son Boston keeps saying, uh-oh, and it's making me question my pick, but that's okay. The other thing, too, as a superstitious sports fan, it was pouring rain on Saturday, and they got pumped, and it's pouring rain today. So I hope it's not the same. But all right, that's it for the games. Let's move on to our best bets in NHL playoffs Tuesday night. Andre, let's start with you, bro. What do you got as your best bet tonight?
Yeah, it's kind of weird. I can't just shamelessly insert Avs Jets over and just be done with it. I have to actually use my brain and think. I think I'm going to go with the Canes minus 1.5. I like the way that the Islanders played for a lot of this series. This series could very easily be 2-2. The Islanders, even in a different reality, could be up 3-1. But that's not the world we live in. We live in a world where Carolina has found a way to win both times at home, even though it wasn't convincing. We live in a world where they then went to UBS and took Game 3 because they jumped out to a 2-0 lead and held on to it. Playing even hasn't worked out for the Islanders, and I don't think even's going to exist anymore now with the way that Game 4 ended. I think Carolina either woke up or they know they just can't mess around anymore. And they're at home, so they're going to have the crowd on their back. They're going to want to put on a show for them. Give me Carolina minus 1.5.
John, what about you, bro? What do you got as your best bet tonight?
I think this one's going to sting Mark a little bit, but I really like the Bruins tonight to wrap it up. I'm going to go Bruins 60-minute line here. I'm sorry, man. The way Toronto looked in Game 4, I just think they're done, especially if Matthews doesn't play tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I can't argue with it. I just gave you my side of it. I understand what you're saying. The one thing that I'm interested to see, just like one more point here, is we've seen guys like Nathan McKinnon do this before. We've seen this on different championship caliber benches where players throw hissy fits and throw their gloves and they're calling out each other. This should have happened like 5 years ago. But with Matthews and Nylander calling out Marner throwing a hissy fit, I'm really hoping like that can do one of two things, right? That can galvanize a team and make a team push each other to be better, or it can just be like kryptonite. So we'll see what happens tonight with all that. But I'm really interested to see it. All right. Well, if you're taking that game, I was going to take the under in that game, but I think I'm going to pivot to Nashville Predators win. I just think that they've been playing the better hockey through and through. And I think that this goaltending, because Vancouver's up 3-1, they stole basically 2 games from Nashville in games 3 and 4. I do think Vancouver wins this series. They're just a better team talent-wise. But I think that the goaltending carousel for Vancouver catches up with them tonight. And I think Nashville finds a way to get the win. So I'll take Nashville at minus 102. And honorable mention, let me just pull up that the odds here. Honorable mention to Philip Forsberg. He's scored a goal the last game. He's minus 110 to score a goal in the playoffs, which is pretty remarkable. He only has 2 goals so far this series, but the season's on the line. And I think Philip Forsberg finds a way to get a goal to propel his team to a win. So honorable mention of Philip Forsberg goal, but I'll take Nashville at minus 102.
Yeah, so we're avoiding Manitoba today, as most people do. The first best bet of the night, Bruins 60-minute line, plus 105. Second up, we got the Carolina Hurricanes, minus 1.5 at plus 110. Last and not least, the Predators on the road, keeping their season alive, minus 102 to take down the Canucks. Parlay together, that's plus 752.
Andre, can I just say that was one of the smoothest lines you've ever had on this show?
Thank you.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. I will say, and I know everyone's probably sick of me talking about this, but with the Toronto Maple Leaf game tonight against Boston, I'm on DraftKings right now, and there are no Toronto Maple Leaf player props. None. Which tells me that, like, the whole world is waiting to find out what in the world is happening with Austin Matthews, because there's not one player for the Toronto Maple Leafs on a prop bet. I don't even think I'll look for sure. Yeah, there's like no goalie props or nothing. There's nothing. So we'll see what happens. All right, everybody, as always, thank you so much for watching, whether you're watching live or throughout the day. We appreciate you. Shout out to Total Apex Sports for having us on board. We appreciate you. Check out Total Apex YouTube and Twitter for lots of live sports content throughout the day. Check out TotalApexSports.com for excellent analysis of every sport that you want. First round collectibles, promo code SportsAddict, 10% off sale and regular priced items. Enjoy the games. Have a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.